Hello ladies, welcome to Homemakers Radio. I'm Mrs. Sherman and I would like to show you my teacup before you go and go about your work today. It was sent to me by Amy, who writes the blog on the journey, and she also has her newsletter out, so I suppose I'm assuming she put it online, and her newsletter just exudes calmness, which is what I'd like to talk to you about today, calmness in the home. And so maybe you can go over there and see if she's got it on there, and it just is full of things that are good for your heart, good for your soul, good for your mind. So one of the reasons that I have Homemakers Radio is it reminds me of the times when, in the olden days, when we used to listen to the radio while we washed dishes, because it made the task seem less arduous. And if you would like to click on the link that I provided below the video on YouTube and go over to my page that I am posting this on, you'll see a few other things, like a picture of the teacup and maybe a summary, and then it's a more pleasant atmosphere over there. So one of the things that I think produces calmness in the home is getting dressed in something pretty, if you possibly can. If not, it can give you motivation to plan for some pretty clothes for your home. And home is a wonderful place because if you really wanted to be a Victorian lady, you could wear Victorian costumes. You could do whatever you wanted at home, and that's the fun of it. We're not in a mold. We're not in a box. We can do what we want. And so today I would like to talk about calmness in the home, beginning with preparation. Now, preparation is getting dressed, getting yourself fixed up, getting your mind and your soul in preparation too, having your quiet time, your prayers. If you don't know what to pray about, make a list of the things that you need to do, and once you get to looking at that and it seems insurmountable, that's something you can pray about. And surely God will give you victory when you pray about things that are good and that are His will. And it is His will that we guide the home and guard the home and keep house. And we've seen that in the Bible. And so to get your countenance ready is also just as important as your clothes. So you get your mind settled and focused on the tasks ahead. And so when you're getting dressed, that gives you a little time to think about what you're doing. There's a big difference between getting up early and letting the day come to you, like the butler said in that book, The Butler's Guide. He said he liked to wake early and let the day come to him instead of waking late and trying to catch up to the day. And he said he woke up leisurely, and he had a cup of tea, and he dressed leisurely. If you can possibly do that, you see such a difference. I do. There's 2 days a week that I have to get up at a certain time and be somewhere. And they're both church functions. And I see such a difference in my thinking process because I'm thinking about getting ready and getting there on time, whereas the rest of the week I'm able to awaken leisurely and plan my day, and my mind doesn't have to rush to catch up to my activity. And so it's very important to have a calm mind, and getting dressed and getting ready enables you to do that. And so get yourself ready. And if you have any kind of program, exercise program, even if it's 5 minutes sitting in a chair stretching, somebody told me recently about bed exercises. She just wasn't up to exercise. She didn't want to plunge into anything yet, and she wanted to start out a little bit more slowly, and discovered someone on YouTube was giving instructions in how to get up in the morning and how to exercise while you're still in bed. I think that's just a great idea. And so there's ways to ease yourself into it. So get yourself mentally ready and get the house ready. And so it seems like if you're dressed for it and if you have an apron on, you feel like you are, at least I do, feel like that I am working for someone. Of course, I'm working for myself, but it's interesting to and amusing to me to think of taking care of a home for someone else, and it's me. And then I have to thank myself. Okay, so calmness in the home involves being ready in the home and the house being ready. You know, if you were expecting someone, one of your relatives or your children or grandchildren to come, or your mother or your sister, and you weren't prepared and you hadn't been notified early enough to be prepared, you feel the tension, don't you? Well, why not have a home that's perpetually ready? Wouldn't that be nice? I'm starting to train myself to do that. The days that I think I'm having time off from visitors, instead I go ahead and clean all the rooms, clean the kitchen, clean the bathroom, and we can lax into a state of mind that since no one's coming, it doesn't matter. But then that's when the hard times come, because the tension comes when someone is coming, or when you, for some reason, have to have it cleaned up. Then there's more tension. So I get it ready every day, no matter what. Even if I'm going to spend weeks alone and I don't expect anyone, I'm trying to train myself to be in the habit of getting things cleaned up, not leaving things laying out. I am always embarrassed when someone comes over and I wasn't expecting them, and there's a pile of laundry, clean laundry on a chair, and there's the bathroom is, I haven't closed the shower curtains and I haven't cleaned the sink, and I know they're going to go in there. And so what I've decided to do is get in the habit of cleaning as I go, as soon as I get up, and I leave all these rooms clean, and that way I'm not surprised. And not everybody can do that, I understand that, especially if their life is very, very busy. But that is a goal that I have, being ready. We are in our fire season in our state here in Oregon. Every year there's fires and smoke, and so people that live near the areas that are on fire tend to come down to the valley and stay with relatives, and that's happened to me too, where some of my children and grandchildren will come down just to get away from the smoke. So I enjoy keeping those rooms ready, and I always like to change things around a little bit and make it different for them. So, and I like to get out old books and magazines from the days that we homeschooled our kids and just leave them out too. So one way to get ready in the home is to have a list of things that you need to do. Just go from room to room and just have a look and say, okay, are all the beds made? Is the floor swept? Are other things clean? Is there enough in those rooms that they could spend the night? Are the towels clean, etc.? That seems elementary to a lot of us, but there are people just starting out that don't quite know where do I start. So having calmness in the home, I think it's encouraged by having an orderly home. Not that we can always accomplish that, but as I have gotten little areas that were troubling me cleaned up, I have felt it. I have felt the calmness. So if you're having trouble with calmness, just dig in there and start cleaning. There are homemaking coaches around the web that you can find, some of them free, some of them for a fee, that will help you, help put you on a schedule and coach you along. And that's always helpful, isn't it? And I know Fly Lady, which came from Sidetracked Home Executives, has a schedule online that you can follow where she has zones. Like today is the living room zone, and maybe one other. But you don't have to panic if you can't get things all done in a week. She'll have maybe a day or a week in one zone, but it'll come up the next week on that day. So you don't have to worry about not getting everything done. Also, I think that being ready in the home for anything. You don't know what the Lord is going to use you for. You don't know when you're going to be called on for anything or for help. One of the things I think that we hesitate so much about with hospitality is because people are so different these days. And I think that we've been spoiled by the fast food restaurants, or any restaurant, and the hotels where everything is done for the customer. They're paying for it and they get all this service. And we don't remember, probably not many people remember, when there weren't any such a thing. When they used to rely on friends and relatives, or camping, or having a second home somewhere for traveling. And when we went to someone's house, we always tried to be helpful. We were very thoughtful of their space, and we're careful not to criticize and complain. I think that in a way the hotels and the restaurants have spoiled people because they feel free to demand good service. And of course the companies want them to. Then they want to provide good service because they're in competition with others. And so they encourage, they'll listen to the customer and they'll try to change things to please the customer. But the home is so much different. And a lot of you my age might remember staying in people's homes, or other people staying with you. And we weren't really allowed to do that. We weren't really allowed to make demands, ask for things, criticize, complain, and we had to be very, very polite about the mealtime. I remember before so many restaurants and hotels that almost all meals were home cooked or homemade, and we didn't think anything of it. I think people have gotten so spoiled. They want to make an order, for what they want to eat. They get to choose. And that's nice that we get to choose. But I can remember when we visited the farm, and visited the relatives on the farm, and visited the relatives in other places where you were just happy to have a cup of tea. And so the calmness in the home, it also goes both ways. The people that are in the home have to be grateful and be calm themselves, and not put too much pressure on the homemaker. And so it just means being thoughtful. And I think thoughtfulness produces calmness in people too, in the home. And then the other thing is, we not only want to get our homes ready, we want to be happy about it. We don't want to just be sludging through and doing it mechanically, but we want to feel good about the way we're doing it. We want to feel good about the results and what it looks like. And there are many places that you can go with books and online to help. That's why we used to join these wonderful book clubs that showed us how to make things, or showed us how to garden, or how to arrange things. And we enjoyed them because they gave us a little bit of boost. They were like a support group for us. And some of us have hung on to those books a long time. So now I brought along some things here that I want to read to you, that I have been thinking about. And one was, I mentioned for the home how it might be nice to have one book that holds everything, instead of having an art journal and a schedule book and a flower press book and a scrapbook. You could make one book do everything, and just call it we used to call these smash books, For example, I'll just show you what I showed you. This one before. It's a mixed media art book, but why not keep everything in one place? Like here's a schedule book, so I've got my schedule written down in there, or it's not really a schedule, it's a list of things that I need to do. And then put my pressed flowers in there. And then maybe this is a card someone made for me I wanted to save, so I've made a scrapbook out of it at the same time. And then someone else made me a really cute bookmark put that in there. And then it's a journal. And so it's just such a great idea because everything will be together and I won't have to ruffle through everything. We have been discussing calmness in the home and the things that me and my family and I have been discussing the things that bring calmness in the home, and we've discussed a lot of things about childhood and about childhood revisited, and I would really like to try some things so that on their next visit I've got some things planned that are workable. And I thought, we should never try to tutor anyone before we give something. We should give a trial run on some of the activities. So I wrote down some of the activities that I wanted to do and been researching a little bit of it. And of course I want to show them how I made my sheet tints and, using clothespins, just something you play with in the daytime outside, and how to, some of the relay races we used to have, some of the other activities, and the, going through your yard and finding useful plants and herbs and things that bring calmness into the home and memories. So I have brought out a couple of books here, and one of them was the Boy's Handy Book, and it was started by the 1800s Boy Scouts. And it had a really noble ambition in it, and it was to provide a book full of ideas on how to build things and how to make things like, here's something how to camp without a tent and how to build a little cottage. And you could do a lot of these things in your own backyard. And this was I chose the one about camping and how to make a little camp chair with sticks and a piece of carpet, and how to make a camp table. And you could do all these things just outside in your own area, or, you could even do them in the house if you wanted to. And, how to make a shelter for yourself. And it talked about how to have provisions and what to pack. And so I was interested. I'll just read a little bit to you about it, and because I'm talking about, for my next project, I'm going to do Childhood Revisited for the next visit that I have from my relatives. Also in the area of being prepared. If you should suddenly have company and it's unexpected, you need to have your list ready and be prepared to set that all in motion, things that you can do. If you ever have to be cooped up with people that in an emergency, you really need to be a good leader and to have some things to do, or have the ability to say, just rest, just relax, try not to think, and here's some books to read. Just something, have something ready. So it's hints to amateur campers. It said, it talked about how to pack and provisions, and the shelter was interesting to me, the shelter. So I'll read this. This is written in the 1800s, and it's the Boy's Handy Book. Because I have described but one sort of shelter, my readers must not suppose that it is absolutely necessary to build a cottage like the one described. It was how to build, it's so interesting, it's how to build a temporary cottage out of sticks, a temporary shelter. How to camp without a tent. That's the name of the chapter, How to Camp Without a Tent. I thought that was of interest. And it said here, on the contrary, there are 1,000 different plans that will suggest themselves to fellows who are accustomed to camping out. The huts, or sheds, built out of slabs by some of the Adirondack hunters, are very convenient, but unless the open ends are protected, in time of a storm the rain is apt to drive in and soak the inmates. The two sheds face each other, and in the middle of the space between the campfire blazes, throwing a ruddy light at night into both compartments. By taking advantage of a rock or a fallen or uprooted tree, the work of building a hut is often materially lessened. Tents, of course, are very handy and comfortable, and if obtainable, should by all means be used. At least one or two good sharp hatchets should form a part of the equipment of every camp. It is astonishing, with their aid and a little practice, what a comfortable house may be built in a very short time. Okay, and then at the end of this is very interesting, because this really isn't a book about character, but here is a little section at the end of Camping Without a Tent. The name of it is How to Camp Without a Tent, and it's chapter 16. It's called Choosing Companions. This is good for everyone. This is good for ladies who have a ladies' fellowship in their home once in a while from church. This is good for women at home who might want to encourage other women but get waylaid by someone who is very negative. This is such a good little paragraph here. I might actually put this on the post. Choosing companions. Never join a camping party that has among its members a single peevish, irritable, or selfish person, or a shirk. Although the company of such a boy may be only slightly annoying at school or upon the playground, in camp the companionship of a fellow of this description becomes unbearable. That is interesting. When you're stuck all in a camp together or in a home together, you don't want to make your presence unbearable by being peevish, irritable, or selfish. We should always try to look on the sunny side of life, and I'm going to read a little bit about that from one of the girls' books today. And I think in preparing the home for calmness, it's very important to dwell a little bit on character. Even if the game, that's talking about the wildlife, fills the woods and the waters are alive with fish, an irritable or selfish companion will spoil all the fun and take the sunshine out of the brightest day. Isn't that the truth? Even us oldies, have you ever had a visitor or known someone who could put the blight on just the prettiest thing, the nicest activity, somehow take the life out of it and take the life out of you too? The whole party should be composed of fellows who are willing to take things as they come and make the best of everything. With such companions, there's no such thing as bad luck. Rain or shine, everything is always jolly, and when you return from the woods, strengthened in mind and body, you will always remember with pleasure your camping experience. Now, for those of you who don't camp or can't camp, this is a great reminder for the home. Some of you are getting into summer, going to be into spring and summer pretty soon. Some of you are just at the high summer, at the end of summer. But we try to have a holiday atmosphere, a summer atmosphere in our homes. And those of us that stay home more still want everyone to be cheerful. We don't want a blighter in the midst. And so the purpose of I'm using camping as an example because the purpose of it, whether it's in your yard or just inside a room and you've made a little hidey hole for them to get into, it still is, the purpose is to renew the body and the spirit, not to entertain those who are glum, and that they all have a responsibility to encourage one another and to build one another up. So I want to read now from Beautiful Girlhood. Now, some of these books that I have, you have to be discerning. If you're a homeschool teacher or you're being homeschooled by me, you have to be discerning about all this stuff. It's not all going to be applicable to you. It won't all suit your beliefs, and you'll have to filter out some things. But for my Disposition here is I'm just using it for some of the things that are very workable. So I'm going to read you the chapter called A Sunny Disposition. And maybe this will also bring calmness to you in this war. And I told you about the media last time. And that is, they wait until we have just about accepted what they've chugged out for us, and everyone's kind of going along normal, and then they burst on the scene with something else that's even more outrageous and more violent and more frightening, and then nobody can sleep anymore. So you have to keep that calmness, and you just remember, anything from the media is questionable, because you can do anything. I'm making a film right now, but you don't know the mess that's in my kitchen. You don't know what's really going on around here because I've staged this little area. Well, many things that the media does is just from a little frame. That's what you see. You don't see to the right, you don't see to the left, you don't see behind the camera. You wonder sometimes why the cameras got there just in time to see the crime. You wonder about things like this, So a sunny disposition is so important, because what happens in our homes is infinitely more important than what happens on the world scene or the media, if indeed any of it is completely accurate. Because you can only know what you know at home, because you can see it and you can control it. Talking about calmness in the home, you can control it. You can control the atmosphere. If you'll keep out the, like Edgar A. Guest said, keep the world out, leave it at the door. If you can keep it out and get yourself ready and treat it in a calm way and escape for a little while. Do you know that people before us in the Victorian times were so traumatized by the fast way the world was working? It was called the Industrial Revolution, and life was going a lot faster than they were used to, and the next generation was busy building their lives and kind of getting away from the old ways. And there was at that time a reaction to it all. And there were these camping trips you could take where you went up in the mountains and you just breathed the air and had air baths and fresh food and water from a creek. And so they suffered from it too. They suffered from the fast pace too. You could also go to these rest homes, and they were, I guess, created for rich people that had, or a little richer than the ordinary, that had the money to go, and they would just rest and have their meals taken care of and take painting lessons and go for long walks. And you can do that at home. That can be your rest home. So a sunny disposition. This is very important for if you're thinking of having a little recreation at home, a little camping, or something that is holiday-ish, like summer holiday-ish. It's very important to have a sunny disposition. I have seen so many people come back from a camping trip, and camping's not cheap because they don't camp the cheap way anymore. And they'll come back in worse shape than when they left spiritually, because they didn't have a sunny disposition, things didn't go well, and they did not know how to keep themselves from arguing. And so it's so important to have a sunny disposition. A merry heart makes a cheerful countenance. This is from Beautiful Girlhood. Once I looked upon the face of a dear little boy whose bright eyes and sunny smiles cheered my heart. One of my grandchildren has these really bright eyes. They almost are glassy. They're so beautiful. I should get a picture of him next. We're so busy when they come here, I forget to take pictures. I asked him what his name was, and he answered, "Papa calls me Sunshine John." Then I knew that the merry smile I saw was, as I thought, an index to his sunny little heart. Any home is blessed if it has a sunshine maker. Isn't that nice? Every girl owes it to herself and to her associates to be sunny. A happy girlhood is so beautiful that it cannot afford to be spoiled by needless frowns and pouts. Now, we all know the pouting girl, don't we? She kind of has her it doesn't have to be an actual frown, but she has a discontented expression, and you can kind of tell. There are clouds enough in life without making them out of a temper. A girl who is full of smiles and sunshine is a fountain of joy to all who know her. The world has enough tears and sorrow at best, and a girl's sweet smiling face can scatter untold clouds. Well, that gives us a clue of, how, I guess I have said the word media too much, but you know how everything you read and everything you hear is about tragedy and about loss and about destruction. And so we doubt ourselves. We think maybe we shouldn't smile today. Maybe we shouldn't be happy today. Maybe we should be fearful. Maybe we should plan on being a martyr. Maybe we should sell all our goods and not be so spoiled. We feel guilty, don't we? Because the world is so full of tragedy and sorrow and loss and just dreadful disappointments. Maybe we're afraid to be happy. But I don't find that that's true. I don't see any evidence of that in the Bible. That while we are to weep with those who weep, in general we have to have a sunny disposition, a happy heart. That doesn't mean we'll go around giggling and laughing when something bad happens. But inside, we have to have a sunny disposition where we don't get dragged down with it and become morose and always talking about things that are dark or lacking in optimism. So the world has enough tears and sorrow at best, and a girl's sweet smiling face can scatter untold clouds. So children should always be trained and encouraged to be happy and have a sunny disposition and to be lighthearted and to be bright and to be always optimistic. Every girl must meet her share of bumps in life. If they do not come soon, they will come later. It is impossible that she should pass through life always in sunshine. She must have her share of shadow. She cannot escape it. But it is not the deep shadows that generally cloud a girl's life and make her unhappy and sullen. It is the things insignificant in themselves, which could have been passed by with hardly a thought, if resisted one by one, that irritate the temper and mar the happiness. Every day you will meet with circumstances in which you have the choice between frowning and sending back a stinging retort, or smiling and passing by them with a kind word. If you can pass these little things and keep sweet, then you have mastered the art of being sunny. Now, it's not too late for the elderly to do this. If you have been around someone who has made a cutting remark, and you've kind of shrugged it off, but you kind of banked it somewhere in your mind, and it begins to bother you. These people, they know that. They know that a cutting remark can often stay with someone for a long time. And the best thing to do is to smile at them and shrug, because these people don't like that, and that will kind of maybe take the fuel out of them. Emma carries a full pitcher of cider across the kitchen and by accident knocks the pitcher against the corner of the table and spills some of it onto the floor. Mother is tired and has just finished mopping, so she speaks up quickly, reproving her. And now Emma has a choice. She can frown and send back an angry rejoinder as she flounces out of the room, leaving her mother sorry for her own impatience and grieved at Emma's hatefulness, or she can look up with a smile and say, Sorry, Mother, I was careless. I'll clean it up. The smile that will come to Mother's face will be reward enough to Emma for her soft answer. Or again, when the smaller children are cross and fretful, Emma can become cross also, scolding and threatening till she increases the uproar. This is important as a young mother or an older mother, that if your children are cross, you don't respond with crossness, because they don't have minds that are fully formed. They are not mature. They do not have good judgment. And I think a lot of times children are brought up harshly because they're expected to act like adults. Yes, of course. But the adults don't realize their minds are not fully formed. The things aren't fully connected yet. And so we have to have gentle patience with them, and we can still teach them what would have been the right thing to do, but teach it in a gentle and kind manner instead of shocking them with loudness and terrorizing them. She can begin a game or a story, or turn their minds to new and pleasant channels. But before Emma can do this, she must have control of herself and a bit of sunshine in her heart. If, we have that song we sing often, there is sunshine in my soul today. And is there another song similar to that? Is Sunlight? If a girl can leave home every morning for school or work with a song in her heart and a smile on her lips, and be ready with a bright good morning for each friend she meets, and an encouraging smile for the old or ill or those otherwise in need of encouragement, then she has found a sphere of usefulness that will make many people bless her. There is a real art in smiling. Some people smile or grin all the time, and it becomes monotonous to those who look at them. We all know this, don't we? The person with a perpetual smile on their face, and yet sometimes the perpetual smiler, is not actually such a nice person in their heart. They criticize, but they keep the smile on their face, so people think they're a darling. But we've found that that's not always true. These grinning people never seem to think who or what their smile is for. It is as if their mouths were made in that form. Other people have the kind of smile upon their face that suggests sarcasm. But there are still others, and I have met girls who have mastered the art, whose smiles are tear chasers. There is something so understanding in their glance and smile that they make you feel they care for you and want you to be happy. Sometimes when I have been discouraged or depressed by trials all my own, a bright, hopeful smile from someone has cheered me amazingly. In fact, we are very much dependent upon each other for courage and happiness. That is the one reason that I object to the coverings on people's smiles. We cannot minister from our faces as well. And I was listening to somebody talk about how it was Candace Owens, I believe, a couple days ago or maybe it was just yesterday, she had a fiery speech where she said babies were not meant to look up at adults whose smiles are covered. In fact, we are very much dependent on each other for courage and happiness. Then let us be dispensers of joy as we go through life, smiling and glad. If I am in trouble, having acted foolishly or something or other, I do not appreciate a grinning smile. This is something you need to teach children at home. When one of them is discouraged about something or has failed in something, maybe wasn't able to accomplish what they wanted to, and they cry a little, it's not good for a brother or sister to smile at them. They know that's devious. That's really wrong. I would rather the face that looked into mine would express a little understanding and feeling for my trouble, or that it would not notice my foolishness at all. When I find a friend who can meet me this way, then that friend becomes a real comfort and joy to me. Smiles and gladness are like sweet peas, in that the more you gather and give away, the more you have. Leave your sweet peas on the vines, and the flowers are soon gone, but gather them closely each day, and they will blossom the more and last the summer through. I didn't know that. So save your smiles for special occasions. when there are joys abroad, and you will nearly run out of them altogether, but give them out at every opportunity, and the joy vines of your heart will thrive and grow. Live in the sunshine. Now, what song does that come from? Farther along? Cheer up, my brother, live in the sunshine. Look on the bright side, for there is always a bright side. No matter how a girl is situated in life, she can find something to be thankful for. If she is the daughter of a poor family, she has saved many of the temptations that come to the rich, and she has many opportunities for helping bear the burden at home. If she is the daughter of a rich, many opportunities for doing good are open that never come to the poor girl. If she is strong and well, and she has a heritage that can be used to good advantage in this busy world. But if she's weak and frail, her life can sweeten the shadows of home. Often the sickly one is the most cheery of the family, in spite of her pain. Everyone should be a sunshine bearer. God smiles on all who are willing to carry his smiles on to others. In one home, the daughter is a willing helper, ready to do all that her young hands can do to lighten the load, and she is a constant blessing to her mother. But she forgets to carry with her a cheery, sunny smile. Her heart becomes vexed and unpleasant, and her words sharp and cutting. The little ones watch their sister's face to see if she is cross. Mother's gentle voice often has to speak to her in soothing tones. Daughter, I know you are tired, but do not make it unpleasant for the little ones. We used to say, don't take it out on others just because you're in a bad mood. We have much to do, but love lightens it all the way. How often I have wished that to her other graces this dear girl would add sunshine, for good temper, like a sunny day, sheds a brightness over everything. It is the sweetener of toil and the soother of disquietude, said Washington Irving. He must have been, that must have been from his essay, The Wife. The faces of our friends are like mirrors. We can look into them and see the expressions of our own face. If we come to them smiling, we see a smile in return, but if we meet them with a frown, they will frown back at us. Try catching the eye of one who is looking sad and out of sorts, and meeting her look with a smile, and see if it will not answer back in her face. Be cheery, sunny, and happy, both for your own good time and for the sake of others. What sunshine is to flowers, smiles are to humanity. They are but trifles, to be sure, but scattered along life's pathway, the good they do is inconceivable. Now, ladies, think about that, and if you feel you're being oppressed and forced to wear a covering on your face, pull it down every once in a while and smile at somebody, just to make a statement. And so, to close, I'd like to have a little bit of explanation about saying too much. You know, you get around people, and now especially as more people are socializing together, you've got to be careful not to divulge too much or say too much, because you've got to test people out first to see if they're going to take what you say and criticize it and run with it and go in another direction with it that you never intended. So that's why it's very important to be conservative with your words. And we've all maybe even made a mistake this last week in just divulging a little bit too much. And someone might, for example, might compliment you. That's a nice teacup. I really like that teacup. We can say thank you. But if we maybe feel uneasy and feel like we just want to break the ice and just, make it seem a little smoother, and so we decide to elaborate on it. Thank you. My friend gave this to me a couple years ago, and then they will say, well, who is your friend? And then it goes on and on and on, and pretty soon you're trapped into revealing more than you should, and they might even get critical, and they might even ask a personal question. Now, here in the U.S., and I don't know if anywhere else, it's very rude to mention money. You don't say, how much did that cost? You might ask them where they got it, or where you can get one, but you don't ask them how much you spent. And you don't ask people how much money your family makes. You don't. There are also other things you don't ask, but that's the one I can think of right now. But you may be trapped into revealing things because they will ask questions. People ask questions to go fishing for information, and they might ask where members of your family are working now. And it's interesting, if they work for a well-known corporation or company, they can get online and find out how much money they make. and it absorbs them, and I don't know why that is, but that's considered something very, very private. And then we also don't ask people personal questions about their personal lives. Like, here's one that I heard someone ask someone else the other day, and there's a woman, she's been married 50 years. It's not me, but she's been married 50 years, and there was another woman that was with us, and we were all in a group, and we were having tea, and one woman said, do you love your husband? And after 50 years, her asking a question like that, well, that's as rude as someone who's been married 1 year. Do you love him? That is personal. If someone wants to reveal what their level of love for someone is, I think that's nice, but I just really felt very uncomfortable for that woman, and you could tell she was uncomfortable with it too, because it went without saying she'd been married to him for 50 years. So, because love is constant, and predictable, and in a marriage, so I just think we have to be very careful what we reveal, This is so important, and also be careful what we ask. Because I found this scripture here. A prudent man conceals knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaims folly. So, we have to be very careful what we reveal. Even the tiniest little thing can be taken off, and we should be more reserved and reserve the long, long explanations of our lives to those who are really, really close to us, family mainly, and also those we trust. But somebody might just take something, and I've seen it happen many times. They'll take something you said and run wild with it, like Emma said. And now, before I go today, I want to show you, I'm going through some of my older issues of Victoria, trying to get everything in order, putting them all by month or by year. And this was a Victoria from 2010, May-June 2010. If you've got that one, this has some of this camping stuff in it, and it's so interesting that it looks like, they've been to a little camp area, but you could do this at home if you have young children. And all it is they've taken trees or branches and put a tablecloth across the top of it, or small bushes, and this is what this American girl was talking about, an American boy was talking about when it was saying, how to set up a camp and how to get the most out of your summer or the outdoors, and if you can't go outdoors, how to do it indoors. And so just let me look over my notes a little bit to see if I left anything out. So one of the things we want to do is to create comfort in the home by dressing with confidence. Dress in a way that the others of the home will look at you and know that all is well. And not be, don't dress in a way that looks like you don't care or that you're upset. In the olden days when people were upset, they did not let on. They actually did what they could to hide it. And I think we were better for it because it didn't spread so much. And, also I wanted to leave you with this bit of knowledge, and that is taking the recent reports so seriously is almost like taking a lethal dose of something, a drug. There are some drugs, that people, all they have to do is get a tiny, teeny bit of it in their body, and they're destroyed for life. And so it's the same thing with the media. It's like a drug. It just gets your tension going and your blood pressure and everything, and it's like a poison almost. If you can possibly avoid it and keep it out of your family, wouldn't you like to spend it? Could you just spend one day without it? Let's just have a day off from it, but plan it, days ahead. Get the house ready, get the menus ready, have a childhood revisited day, and do everything for your family that you did during your childhood or their childhood. Just do a little repeat of everything that you did. And I've shown you a couple of things, but you probably have much more better things. And so, ladies, I hope that this has been valuable to you and you can get something out of it. There's also another blog I'd like you to go visit, and it is called Adventures in Housekeeping. And I believe the lady's name is Sandra. She's on my blog roll. And read about her, quote, miracle cure, which she discovered, one of the maladies that she was having. And I'm encouraging everybody, if they can, to get as natural as possible with their foods and their cures, because it reduces anxiety and also creates comfort. And so, ladies, I really appreciate your comments, and I read them all. They're very good for me because they also give me new ideas. So I hope that you will write soon, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.